Okay.
Hi guys. I'm going to start now. This is a really light talk. It's going to be something really fast. And unlike the niche, I do tend to swear a little bit, and I don't feel sorry for it. I'm going to talk a little bit of trash about the way our government is handling a bit of our IT security and all that, because that's pretty much what Carlos asked me to come over here and talk about.
I didn't ask you anything. Don't blame me.
So, my talk is called Software Vulnerabilities and Needs, and this is what I'm going to talk about. I want to talk about the needs we have from software and the vulnerabilities that come with it. Okay? So a little bit about myself. My name is Tiago. I'm 25 already. I've got my undergrad at the University of Brighton, my MSc from University of Bedfordshire. I started a PhD. After a couple of months, I decided to drop out and go work in the industry. Certified ethical hacker, certified active forensic investigator. I currently handle security at Central Way, which is a Swiss company. We're hiring. If you guys are programmers, enjoy JavaScript, Ruby on Rails, or if you guys like building stuff, come talk to me afterwards or send me an email. I'm team founder at a security research team called Portuguese for Security, and I'm the main organizer of Besides Lisbon with a guy called Bruno Morrison. This is a little bit of what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk a little about browsers, backdoors, Java, PDFs, Metasploit. Some of you might have heard about this, some of you might not have heard about it, but we'll talk a little bit about it. Nowadays in the news we hear a lot the word cyber. In my opinion, it's just a lot of cyber bullshit. Because we hear that, you know, forces must be equipped with dynamic cyber warfare, whatever that means. Cyber China, cyber this, cyber that, cyber the other. Everything is cyber essentially nowadays. And yeah, more cyber. Like I said, it's a lot of cyber bullshit. That's what it is. This creates two big problems, okay? People that are not into security or are not even into technology get really confused about the news and get worried about stuff they shouldn't be worried about. And it distracts them from the real problems. Okay. This is, we're going to talk a bit what's scary and what's not scary, okay? Who thinks this is scary? This was a defense that was on the page of Secret Story. Anyone here thinks this is scary? I don't think this is scary at all. Who thinks this is scary? We are still different. Anyone? It's disturbing, but again, it's not scary. However, when the news portrayed this part, they put it and it was a big thing, low-sec Portugal did this, and it's fucking awesome and everything, and people were like, oh my god, big hackers in Portugal, blah, blah, blah. Again, cyber bullshit. This is not scary. So, this is the things I consider scary, okay? A guy sent out a tweet saying he had a 0-day, which is a vulnerability that no patch exists for, on SSH. SSH is what we consider nowadays a secure protocol that we use to connect to devices, to our machines, to our servers. This is the real scary part, okay? It's not a deface on your politician's page, it's not a deface on Cartão Cidadão. It's not scary. Don't get me wrong, it's shitty, and you know, it's from a public relations perspective, it's absolute crap, but it's not scary. Scary is stuff like this. Crypto attacks, secure protocol attacks, this is the scary part, and this is the stuff we should be worrying about. Or perhaps stuff like this. Air drones getting controlled by hackers, critical systems getting attacked. That's the real stuff that's scary, okay? If some of you know me, you should have known that me and my team did some work related to port scanning on Portugal. This was the final result that we found. Can anyone tell me, over here, if you guys can see it, but it's 8, can anyone tell me what's wrong with this picture? Anyone? The numbers on there are the ports that were found open, and they are divided by quantity. Can anyone tell me what's wrong?
What is that number? Sorry, I can see.
Port 80, down here it's port 80. Yeah. Anyone? So essentially, port 80 is, most of you guys should know at least, is HTTP web servers, okay? They're not even answering with SSL. And in an optimal environment, what we should start to see, it's more 443 opens instead of port 80, because they would be running over SSL, etc., etc. Same thing for 23 versus 22. Who knows what port 23 is? Telnet, exactly. What's the problem with Telnet? All the traffic is in clear text, it's not encrypted. However, we see many more devices replying to Telnet than we see to SSH. And this is from a recent scan. It's from January, I think. We get real-time results on this, and the picture doesn't really change much. So as you can see, we're not, from a security perspective, Portugal is not that amazing. We're not extremely critical, but we're not amazing. So let's talk about needs, like I said. In Portugal, we have something really cool nowadays. We can deliver our IRS through the internet. We don't have to queue at Loja de Cidadão, which is pretty cool. We don't have to listen to the grumpy people that work there because they're all annoyed because the computer is slow and the system's not working, blah, 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 blah. It's fast when compared to having to fill all the paperwork by hand and having to go and deliver it. And it works, don't get me wrong. It works great, at least for me, I can't complain about it. However, to deliver your IRS, at least through the original font, which is the government website, you have a tiny problem. You need to have Java installed. And Java is the equivalent of cancer when it comes to computer security. It's actually, I have to make a little change here. I'll say it's Java and PHP. I'm sorry about whoever's on PHP, but it's terrible. I'm sorry. They take ages to patch something. And Java has a ton of vulnerabilities. This note is from the latest patch that came out for Java. And if you guys can read over there, I don't have a list right here, but it says that 42 new security features for Oracle Java SE. 39 of these vulnerabilities are maybe remotely exploitable without authentication. 39. And this is for only the latest patch. Okay? That is a big, big number. We can even if you install the latest patch, if you go to istherejava0day.com, it tells you if there is one which hasn't been patched or not. It still hasn't been patched. There are still Java 0 days in the wild. If you guys look at the CVE website, only on the 18th of this month, 6 vulnerabilities came out, and out of all of these, at least 4 are of 10 classification, CVV2. There are 10 classification, which is the most critical one, which is remote unauthentication exploitable. This is really critical stuff. And to deliver the IRS, we must have Java installed. Now I'm going to digress a little bit. I'm going to talk a bit about Metasploit, which is a tool that in security we use to test machines and to test vulnerabilities and all that. It was developed by this cute little bear over here called HD Moore. The first version was Perl, which is terrible. Everyone knows Perl is horrible. If you say Perl is nice, well, you need to try Python. It was then rewritten in Ruby. Thank God for that. This framework contains lots of different modules to help you guys test the security of your machines and your networks and all that. You can check really fast, like if a new exploit comes out, they'll make a Metasploit module and you guys can easily and fast check if any machine on your network is vulnerable to that. And it allows you to do something pretty cool as well. Not only can you exploit a machine, you can actually use it as a pivot to exploit other machines. And I'll show you why this part of Metasploit is important in a second, okay? There are 2 ways to use Metasploit: Web GUI, MSF console, and Armitage. This is the console, this is the Web GUI, and I'm just going to show you a quick view of Armitage. Can we lower the lights?
Yes, it's on those 2 switches, black switches. It's the other one. Yeah.
So if you guys look, essentially it's the GUI where you can start running some exploit, and when the machine gets on, shows up there, and you have all the options essentially to scan and to use Metasploit all on the GUI. So you don't even have that old hassle that we used to have where we used to say hacker tools are really hard to use and blah blah blah. Nowadays anyone can do this, okay? Because it's GUI, you just need your mouse, clickety click, and all the other machines show up because they scanned all the network and all that. I just wanted to show you guys a little demo of Armitage so you know how it works. Now, moving back to our presentation. Metasploit has several modules. It has the exploits, which are the modules that contain the actual vulnerabilities you can use to test. There are vulnerabilities for Windows, for Linux, OS X, pretty much all the recent exploits that came out, there is a Metasploit module for it, or it gets written within a week or so when the exploit is discovered. There's a second type called payloads. After you guys compromise a system with an exploit, you deliver a payload, which then you can either connect or connects back to your machine and allows you to control the victim machine. And there's also some auxiliary modules which pretty much allow you to test for other type of stuff, or scan, or test if it's a specific version that's vulnerable to something. There are also the scanner modules that allow you to do brute forcing to multiple types of protocol, like SSH, FTP, Telnet, pretty much everything. And now I'm going to show you a little bit why I say that it's bad that we have to install Java to deliver our iOS. So, we go over here. If you guys look over here, this is the Metasploit console. So I'm going to load the latest Java exploit on Metasploit. So I'll type use exploit browser Java JRE 17 driver something something. I'll type show payload so I can decide which payload I want to use. Since this is the Java attack, I'm going to have to use the Java specific payload. So I'm going to use Java interpreter in reverse. Does anyone know the difference? Or hold on. Let me see if I can pause this. So, does anyone know the difference, apart from these guys, does anyone know the difference between a reverse and a bind connection? Anyone? Reverse and bind, no? Okay, so a bind connection, it's your machine as an attacker connecting directly to the victim machine. What's the problem with that? Anyone? Firewalls. Firewalls, exactly. A reverse shell will actually be your machine as an attacker will run a listener, and the victim's machine will connect back to your machine. Therefore, usually, most of the times, the firewall doesn't interfere. So, we decide that we want to use interpreter with reverse TCP. We're going to set the IP address on the local host so that they know where they have to connect to. It's going to be, it's done. Then I am going to type exploit. And this is going to activate the Metasploit module on my machine, as I'm an attacker. It's going to put a listening with a Java applet on a web page. I'm then going to log in onto my email. I'm not using Submail because of that specific reason. Works for Gmail and anything. It's just that I have these accounts pre-prepared. I will. I'm going to go check my emails. There's a guy, which is my victim, who sent me an email which says já compraste o bilhetes para o Iron Maiden, and I'm going to be lovely and reply to him. I'm going to type, hi, hello, yeah, click over here to download a copy of the tickets and please bring them with you to the concert. The only thing I'm going to do though is that I'm going to activate the composition with HTML, select the key, which is here, and I'm going to link it to my exploitable web page, the one I'm currently running. Obviously, this was on my test lab, so I'm still the victim, but in the real world, it would be a server that's directly connected to the internet and all that. But in this case, I send in the email. Now, on my other laptop, as a victim, I am I? Hold on. Yes, I'm going to wait a little bit. If you guys can see over here, you can start seeing some traffic coming along. Interpreter session 1 opened, which means I now have a console on the victim machine. Okay? To prove this, I'm going to try and use one of the interpreter modules called, I'm going to show you all the commands for the interpreter first. If you guys can see over there, over here, the latest command, the command here is screenshot. I used it, it saved the screenshot. I'm now going to open it. And if you guys can see, it's a Windows XP machine. There's the supplemental from the victim over there, and it works great. Just to prove further that I am indeed inside the victim machine, It's a Windows XP, like it says over there, interpreter of type Java. I'm now also going to ask to get a shell on the remote machine, just to try and access the file system. Shell, and I pretty much get the shell inside the victim's machine. Everyone okay through here? Any questions on this part? No? Good. A second thing I wanted to show you guys was this. Let's see if it works. This one I'm going to do it a little bit faster. Which is, even if I didn't want to use Java, I could also use I could also use PDF files. In this case, I'm using a social engineering toolkit, which is a tool to automate the whole social engineering type of attacks and all that. It also has the Java part. But yeah, you guys can have a look at the videos afterwards. Let's go back to more important things. So what else can I do with Metasploit? We can do something pretty cool. Not only look at the desktop, and this is the last time I want to show you guys. So if you guys look over there, I've got an interpreter on the remote machine. I'm going to type webcam list. It's going to give me say that there is one USB video device. I'm going to say webcam scan or snap in this case. It starts, saves, and if I go and open it, it's pretty dark. Yeah, we can't see much. I need pencil. So,
It's nighttime.
So I'm going to use the second module of webcam snap, which puts a server running on my machine, and when I browse to it, I can see in real time the camera of my victim. Should work, at least. Let's see. Yeah, Apache wasn't starting, that's great. Blah, blah, blah. And there you go. You can see in real time the video of the remote camera of your victim. If you guys look at it, you can see me passing through with the bra on my head and dancing in front of the camera. So, and all of this works obviously with Java and PDFs and everything. Let's go back to the presentation. So, load up my here. So now that we've seen possible attacks, how does it affect us, the Portuguese? A little background. On the last few years, at least the past 2 years, things have changed a little bit. Some hacking groups have been created in Portugal, and even though they are not amazing, I don't mean to insult them, but you guys really need to step up your game compared to the international groups, whatever. These tools are pretty easy to use, and these guys, if they can, they will own your machine and name and share and do all that. Some of them are kids, so I can understand their perspective. If I was a 15-year-old, I would definitely love to see some webcam and some boobies and all that. So you know how it works. And a little more background was that they have been doing a couple of things. If you guys see Exame Informatica, the website had an easy password to figure out, and well, that was crap. The LOSEC Portugal owned multiple government websites as well. And if you look at Exame Informatica, they said that they figured out that the websites had the username root and the password MySQL at AMA. Who can tell me what's the first problem with this? There are two big problems with this. Who can tell me which ones they are? Anyone?
User root.
User root. Okay, 3 problems then. User root. What else? Anyone?
Easy to guess password.
Easy to guess password. One more. Exactly. My SQL server was accessible from outside. The funniest bit of all this, we'll talk about it, was 2 things. First one, the website was running a version of Joomla 1.0 from 2005. First problem. Second problem I have with this. And now I'm going to speak in Português because the news is in Portuguese. So, ambos valorizam os efeitos práticos do ataque, lembrando que os conteúdos personalizados pelos dois sites são meramente informativos e não tradicionais, blah, 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 blah. Essentially what they're saying is that there wasn't any major content there, so the attack wasn't that amazing. I've got a couple of problems with this. First, the software that we use to install on our computers to use the Cartão Cidadão and the reader was hosted on this website. And second problem I have with this is that the way they say that they can guarantee that there were no changes or a backdoor installed on that software was because this software was hosted on a remote server. Right. Metasploit allows you to do something funny. If you guys compromise one machine inside that network, you can tunnel all your attack traffic through that machine and attack the machines that are inside that network. So, well, that poses a little bit of a problem since one of the machines, the one where this website was running, was compromised. Who can guarantee me that they didn't use that machine as a pivot and access the supposedly remote servers that are not on this machine? Well, they never even bothered to say that perhaps, I don't know, the hash of the binary that's currently there matches the hash that was there last week. Something like that. That would have been, in my opinion, the correct way to reply to this. Not that, yeah, they weren't compromised because they were on another server. Listen, if you have a weak password, a MySQL server turned onto the internet, a Joomla from 2005, I'm not going to trust your bullshit saying that it's on another server, okay? That server is probably Windows 95 or some shit like that. So these are the few problems I had with this situation. And this is a funny one, because Carlos turned me on to this. He said that he couldn't see a way to massify this attack. So I sat down and thought about it. And in part I agreed with him, and then I started thinking, nah, I can massify this shit. So I actually went and tried to test my theory of how I could possibly massify this. So there are a couple of ways we could massify this in my opinion. We could modify the CC software that it would install perfectly, but it would also install a backdoor every time someone downloaded and installed the software. A second way would be to modify the Java applet that runs on the CC website as well, make it one of our vulnerable Java applets. And there was a third way, mass email. However, for this one, we needed to find a way to get Portuguese emails. So what did I do? I ended up writing a couple of scrappers with my team. And when this news came out, I let all my scripts monitoring pasting Google, Facebook, and Twitter for 1 month and a half. And at the moment, I've got more than 100,000 unique Portuguese emails. And all I need to do now is, listen, send a proper fake email, write down, you need to hand in your IRS, please click on this link to further get more money or whatever. I just need to find a properly Portuguese written email and redirect those users to either one of my applets or to some fake website or something like that. So I think we can probably massify this type of attack on Java. If someone disagrees, feel free to throw your point in on why we shouldn't be able to. You know? Okay. So this is my attempt at the theory on how we could possibly do it. A second need that we have, and this was a funny one, because this is actually not related to just the software, but to network devices as well. If you guys have at home, and pretty much all ISPs nowadays put it in your home, those routers where you can connect a USB stick and it shares to the entire network, that router is using a protocol called UPnP. So what is UPnP? UPnP is a fancy way of linking shit together. And what uses UPnP? Our computers, Skype, your PlayStations, Wii, iPhones, pretty much like all the devices to communicate internally use UPnP. And UPnP is actually a pretty okay protocol. It just has a problem, is that if you don't configure it properly and put it turned onto the internet, it can cause some headaches. And I'm going to show you guys why. For starters, there has been a ton of vulnerabilities and hacks found on UPnP. The second problem with this was in January 29, 2013, this company called Rapid7, which are the same guys that now sell Metasploit and all that, they did a worldwide study on UPnP devices. Essentially, they pretty much port scanned the entire world and saw that lots and lots and lots of UPnP devices were answering and turned on directly to the internet. So, you know, we try to do the same thing, just more locally. We try to scan Portugal. It's still 5.6 million IP addresses, so it took us a little bit to get there. But we ended up getting there, and we noticed that 15,000 plus devices at a time replied to UPnP, which means like routers were replying to UPnP directly from the internet. Is this a bad thing? Well, it can be a little bit. Let me just talk a little bit about our project. So, on 29th of January 2013, like I said, Rapid7 released their reports, blah, blah, blah. And my team, we had a project we like to think helps a little bit called OWASP EU Tour, where we also do some port scanning and all that. And we noticed that lots of ISPs were putting their routers on people's homes with UPnP replying to the internet. So we ended up contacting these ISPs and telling them, look, you have a problem, these are the IPs that are currently replying to UPnP, please go and take care of this. It had a pretty good result. We could see the changes in real time, so every time some ISP did end up closing UPnP port on a certain IP, it would detect it in our system. There was a pretty fast resolution by some ISPs, and we ended up finding a way to contact them better in case something like this happens again. Some ISPs had a change of about 80% because they were putting a lot of routers replying to UPnP at people's homes. And we found a way to have, like I said, a quicker and faster response from them in case something like this happens again. Now, about UPnP. There was a guy that developed a UPnP scanner. And what does it do? It's pretty simple. If you guys look over here, you can't see very well, so we can do something like called add port mapping, get username, get password, get PPT authentication protocol. With UPnP, you can pretty much do everything that you can do on your administration page of your router. The cool thing is, imagine, does anyone know, apart from these guys again? The cool thing about NAT, at least, well, it's not supposed to be a security feature, but it has a little layer. Does anyone know what's the cool thing about NAT? Anyone? Essentially, if an attacker wants to attack your IP that you have at home, when they attack it, usually that attack will end up hitting on your router and not directly onto your machine that's on the internal network. The thing is, if I can do add port mapping, means I can write custom rules on the firewall of your router, which means I can say that all the ports on that router are going to point to the internal machine with the IP, blah, 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 which would mean the same as me attacking that IP directly and directly going to your machine. So if I can put custom roles on the firewall, we can do some pretty cool stuff. Oh, by the way, no authentication on UPnP. Another funny thing about UPnP is that you can get the MAC address and the SSID. And we had a certain ISP here in Portugal that was using those two things to generate the wireless passwords that were being deployed on the routers all over Portugal. So you could pretty much have all the passwords, unless people change it obviously, of all the routers here in Portugal. Are we improving? Portugal is going to have, supposedly, a cybersecurity center. In my opinion, this is not going to change anything, because I have a few problems with this. I have a problem with many things, but I have a bigger problem with this. First one, it's going to be handed out to the military, or at least major control of it. It's going to be to military. And don't get me wrong, military are great, but they don't know shit about cybersecurity or security in general anyways. Second thing, if it keeps on going the way it is now, public entities like police and military and departments, they can't accept cooperation from other entities unless they are a university, for example. And I can guarantee you that the work me and my team did could have helped a lot in the future. If they don't want to take our cooperation, that's their problem, not mine. And yeah, so I'm not sure how this is going to improve if it ever comes out of the paper draft, because I'm not even sure if it's going to be built.
April of which year?
So just then, I said it was a short presentation. I would like to invite all of you that don't have tickets to come to B-Sides Lisbon 2013. It's going to be a free conference. We have released the first batch of tickets already. We're going to release another one soon. You guys can go to this website It's going to be on Fort Picoas. Thanks Sabu for giving us the building. They're awesome. And if you guys want to know when the next batch of tickets is going to be released, you can either check the website or our Twitter feed. That's me. Any questions?
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions?
Não estás militare.
Se tivessem cá para fazer perguntas assim, não. Ok?